So this is yellow choi. This is a very classic Chinese vegetable, and I've already washed some, which I've just put into this salad spinner. So when you stir fry vegetables, one of the most important things to remember is that the vegetable has to be dry. When you're stir frying vegetables in a Chinese restaurant or in China, you don't have to dry the vegetables because the stove power is so much greater. A typical Chinese restaurant stove has maybe 80 to 150,000 BTUs in America, but the typical home American stove is averaging 10 or 12,000 BTUs. So if you put wet vegetables into your hot wok, it's just going to turn your stir fry into a braise. So what I like to do is to use a salad spinner. This one's actually a little smaller than I would typically use. I have a bigger one at home, but this works fine. I spin it more than once just to make sure all the water's out. And I might even lightly dry the vegetables with a kitchen towel. This is the yellow choi up close. You can see that it has these really slender pencil-like stems, and it's very flexible. Well, not here. It's a little stiffer here. Typically, when I stir fry a vegetable like Chinese broccoli, the stems are quite hard, and I would remove them and stir fry them first before adding the leafy green. But the yellow choi is very delicate, so I'm going to actually just stir fry the entire whole vegetable. The only thing I'm going to do is just trim the bottom of the vegetable by 1/4 inch, and you don't even have to do it. This is just beautiful, young, gorgeous yellow choi. So you need about, maybe about 2 teaspoons of garlic. So I'm just smashing the garlic to remove the peel. And then trim it if there's any discolored spots. And I always remove any green stem or shoot because it just shows that the garlic is old. I have a little bit more garlic here. This yellow choi is really young, so you don't even need to do it, but just so that you know, typically I would cut 1/4 inch from the bottom just to trim it like this. So for the dish, you just need 2 teaspoons of oyster sauce. This is a pretty thick sauce. You have to like ketchup. Oops, there. And then the fish sauce is only a teaspoon. So this is sort of the amazing part about stir frying. There's hardly any ingredients added to it, and yet it makes such a big difference in the end when you taste it. So stir them together because the oyster sauce is quite thick and the fish sauce is thin like a soy sauce, and you want them to be nicely combined. And that's it. So we're ready to stir fry. You can definitely use electric or induction. That's the beauty of the flat bottom wok, that if it's a round bottom wok, it's setting on a wok ring and the wok is set too high from the heat to really get hot. So I've never cooked with this stove before, so I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to take to heat up. Let me make sure it's at its very hottest. This gas stove, I would predict, will take about 1 minute to 2 minutes. So I put my hand about 3 inches from the bottom of the wok, never touching the wok, and it should feel like a hot radiator. And it's starting to come up. So let's do the water test.
Cool.
Okay. So make sure that all the water is totally evaporated before you add the oil, otherwise you're going to have spattering. And then I add 2 tablespoons of oil, and I swirl it in the side of the wok. Then I add my garlic. And there should be immediately a sizzle sound. It doesn't need to be loud, but you're going to hear the sizzle. And then I add my vegetables. So stir frying is all about the sound. If there's no sound, then you didn't heat the wok properly, or you cooled down the wok with wet vegetables, or you crowded the wok with too many ingredients. You can see that the vegetable is bright green, and I'm just going to stir in this combination of the oyster sauce and the fish sauce. And I always swirl it down the side of the pan. If you put it down the center, it cools down the temperature of the wok too much. And that's it. And I can just add a little bit of pepper. Okay. Isn't that gorgeous?